The Tainted Glove presents Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Oh, what a big man you are. Hey, let me buy you a pack of gum. I'll show you how to chew it. Ooh.
And Justin Svos Svoboda.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast. And today we got some special guests today. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Tom, a.k.a. Yumper, and I'm with my co-host, Justin Doughboy Svoboda. How you doing, Svo?
Howdy, fucking partners.
And we have some guests here. We have the honorable man of questionable character.
Aloha, Mr. Han.
Mr. Han. How you doing, Mr. Han?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
And we also, unfortunately, have his partner, Jeffrey Wright's best friend, the Reverend Kfidds.
It's okay. You'll be all right one day when you realize Encanto is a great film.
There's going to be a lot of ribbing in this episode, but rest assured for our listeners at home, this is a really weird brotherhood that we have here right now. We're all good friends, and we just like to bust each other's balls.
Yep.
Yes.
That may be an understatement.
No, exactly. It's exactly why Yumper loves Encanto, and he actually doesn't want to admit how much he thinks it's probably the best animated film of all time.
And I think he's still upset it wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, like a snub.
Look, dude, we need to cut this out right now because evil dies tonight.
Bo, you cannot turn on me against these two assholes.
That should not get cut.
All right. No, but all seriousness, though, me and Swell were talking about which guests we wanted to have on in future episodes, and we could not do our first guest without having you guys be it.
Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate all the help and guidance, guys.
We do. This is literally like that. We have a group text that it's on unlimited nonsensical like awesomeness, and it's when we feel what we feel and we just text each other too. Like the best part, this foursome, like you guys are getting an insight into a group text right now that is probably the coolest group text I have on my phone. I want to about you guys, and it covers film and Yumper's favorite animated film. So
it covers film. It covers ball busting,
erotica,
a little bit of sports.
I think there was some nipple there at one point, but
yeah, it was.
Yes, I believe there was nipple talk at one point.
No, but for real, like we
nipple
couldn't have done this podcast, or this podcast wouldn't exist without the two guys that are joining us tonight. So it's an honor and a privilege to have these guys on.
Well, thank you, but I think you're stretching it a little bit, saying you couldn't do this without us. You guys take it and run with it, man. You don't need us.
Too kind, Mr. Han. Too kind.
Yeah, I think you give us more credit.
All right, guys. So this episode is going to be
nodding my head because I actually agree. You couldn't hear that if you're listening to the podcast. Sorry about that.
That's why you check out the YouTube version at the Tainted Glove on YouTube. So this episode is actually going to be about the Oscars. I know it's a month early, but we want to dive in before anybody else. And we have our little Oscar predictions and a little analysis on some of the films.
Why didn't we do this episode like 3 weeks from now, like March 27th or something like that?
I don't know. I think I got something going on then.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, there's something on my calendar.
Somebody might be in Las Vegas.
And by somebody, everybody in this podcast will be in Las Vegas on that day.
That's like all four. That's a Connect 4 right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to it.
I'm just looking forward to being at the scene
of
several casino scenes.
That was today, actually. But are you interested in having Tatrises? Tatris. The guy showed.
The prize?
The tater tots shaped like a Tetris at that 80s bar here in Vegas. That now
probably
just. But you guys should definitely go to see the Vegas film.
The horror convention?
No,
the horror museum
on East Fremont or on Fremont. You have a film prop place that's opening up the weekend you're there. So.
Isn't it next to Heart Attack Grill?
100% right behind it. Yep, it used to be they had action figures and stuff. Yep,
the Toy Shack's gone.
No, Toy Shack's still there. Sorry.
Johnny at the toy shack.
It's between
that
the
guy's
Denny's,
name?
I think. The Denny's. You know what I'm talking about. You've been there.
I do. The Toy Shack was cool. It's
right there.
the Toy Shack is the guy that whatchamacallit used to use in Pawn Stars.
Yeah, Johnny.
That
or
was
something
his
like
that was his toy expert, and he had a shop on Fremont.
That's right
and
there.
I've been in there and I bought a crap ton of Batman stuff in there.
The
So
Star
you
Wars
like-
figures in my desk at school are actually from that store. I just grabbed them out. They had like the barrel in the middle and it's like Leia, Luke, Yoda, Chewie. Like it's the old ones, but they don't have like their coats, so it's like just kind of like
Loose is what they call them in the collector's world.
oh, because I got the whole cast. I got the whole originals. But that's where it's at. It's right there. So you guys, when you're at Hennessy's, it's like 10 steps, and it's only like $10 to walk in, and they have like Pinhead and like weird props that they've used for like. I think they have a Wild Stallions like mesh hat.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's a cool place, and we're all film nerds, so it's actually heaven.
Yes. So the way we're gonna open this up is we actually asked some questions at Yumper and Swo on the Twitters, and we wanted to show your responses. So our first question was your favorite performance from an Oscar winner, whether it be a movie or an actor. I gave mine as Javier Bardem, Antar Sugar from No Country for Old Men. We have JD who gave us Paul Newman's character as Fast Eddie in The Color of Money. Mr. Kfidds, do you want to give your choice?
Well, I did an and or because I think it's I'm not sure, like the first experience you have that means a lot to you always has an impact. And for me, it's On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando. His performance as Stanley is something you really can't. For me, at least, I don't know. I feel like it's like the standard that was set because that's the first moment when I saw it, and especially in black and white in a film that didn't have to be filmed in black and white that covered such a very important topic. And obviously, I was born at least days after that. It's released in the early '60s. Is so great, but again, his physical presence on a screen. Marlon Brando is who I'm speaking about, of course. Just I don't know. It's so good. And then the other one was Daniel Day-Lewis, who pretty much you could say anything that he's ever done. You could say this is probably the best performance I've ever seen because he's probably the greatest actor we've ever been privileged. Maybe Anthony Hopkins, Paul Newman, Marlon Brando. Those are pretty much for me. Maybe Christopher Walken. I see him as a picture right there. Dear, but these are the greatest people. And so like with Daniel Day-Lewis, we all love his milkshake speech. I mean, Amanda, my boy. Like you can't top that. So
Drainage.
well, good. And so I mean, but for me, I think I feel like I have to go with Brando because it really did. It's one of those that inspired my love of film and the appreciation of dude's totally batshit insane. And at the same time, he's an absolutely fantastic artist. And his performance then, and and another one of my favorite films, Godfather, obviously, but even Superman, for God's sakes. He takes the screen up. He knows how. Very few people command the iris of a camera, and he is one of them that have done that. So I'll go with him.
And then we have shout out to Chelsea with his Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter. And I know The Deer Hunter is a little close to your heart, Swole.
Yeah, so The Deer Hunter is one of the first movies that I have like a memory of watching with my old man. Like I said before on other pods, my old man showed me movies I probably shouldn't have seen at ages that I shouldn't have watched them. Like I remember going to see Platoon theatrically as like a 7-year-old, and I'm pretty sure it was at the Brighton Theater on Archer Avenue, with my old man. And The Deer Hunter was another one that he was like, you got to watch this. And Robert De Niro's performance is good. Christopher Walken's performance is good. But I don't think we're talking about is I'm sorry, what was it? John Cazale. He only made 4 movies? Five. And they were The Godfather, Deer Hunter, and what else, guys?
Godfather 2, Conversation, Dog Day Afternoon,
and
The
Deer Hunter. So like this guy was in 5 movies, and 3 of them are top 100 movies of all time.
All 5 nominated for best
All 5
picture.
just an unreal, like the Deer Hunters is near and dear to my heart. I love it. Robert De Niro, this is this. It's not that, it's this. And the spilling of the wine on the dress, which symbolizes so many things. It's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. And then, I forget about them singing Frankie Valli in the bar before they're about to ship off.
It's Frankie Valli. He pops up every time in that time period too. Frankie Valli is a god.
It's a perfect movie with perfect performances. And yeah. What
Frankie
do you
Valli
got, Pete?
also pops up in the Sopranos.
Yes. What's that? What's mine?
What do you got, Pete?
There were 2. One was already named, and that was Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. I mean, he just absolutely dominates from the first moment he hits the screen till the very end when he proclaims he's done.
Would you say his milkshake brings all the boys to the bar?
And then some. But the other one to me is Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Talk about absolutely dominating a picture from beginning to end. And the funny thing is, if you really watch that movie, Jack comes across as the star, but the ending tells you who the real star, or who the purpose of the movie, who the movie is really, who it frees. And it's not Jack Nicholson. And, the movie came out in 1975, so this isn't, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't care. It's a spoiler alert. It's about Chief.
Yep.
And how Jack Nicholson's character, R.P. McMurphy, basically gives Chief the push to get out of the situation he's in, because all these guys have self-committed themselves. They're not there like he is. They all self-committed themselves. So I got to go with Jack. And, the funny thing about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Silence of the Lambs are 2 movies that won all 5 of the major categories.
And
Best
we're better
actor,
than the
best
original
actress. What's that?
And we're better than the original book.
So
absolutely.
That's another thing.
Absolutely.
Like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of those rare instances where the movie is better than Ken Casey's book.
Casey's book's still fantastic.
The book is amazing.
But
the book is amazing.
The thing with Cuckoo's Nest, it ends perfectly because the book doesn't end where the movie ends.
Right.
The movie ends on the perfect ending.
And Fidds is right. Like the book is perfect. The book is amazing, but it's one of those rare instances. And even with Mario Puzo's The Godfather, it's one of those rare instances where the movie is better than the book.
And it's Milos Forman. So you
totally agree.
Said it again, the Andy Kaufman, Jim Carrey movie. The dude understands period moments too.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
Man on the Moon is so underrated too. God damn, Fidds.
So good. One of my
also, don't forget about Louise Fletcher as Nurse Ratched. Probably one of the greatest villains in film history.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I teach English, and one of my favorite novels was to teach this, but it was always kind of the means to an end. All right, so now let's interpret what the book says. Now, what's the film trying to tell you? That was my favorite. That and Gatsby were my 2 favorite English teacher. I'm not teaching English anymore now, but that's where those were my 2 units where I'm let's go, because the kids are that's different. But they understand it. And Cuckoo's Nest, it resonates. The film always resonates more because it shows that it's not just about one person that's there. It showcased at the time, especially in an era where people they called them a loony bin. Those are people that just needed help. And what a win.
It's a time when people didn't understand what the effects and causes of mental illness were.
Well, yeah, and I think it's even more relevant today, where we take mental health a little bit more serious. Not as serious as it still should be taken. That's a whole different podcast. But it's still relevant today.
Yep. People are wait, is that real? It's when you watch Amadeus. You're was it really that way? Where he was put in a cage when they go see Salieri, and you're wait, what? How did he cut his throat? Spoiler alert, he cuts his own throat at the beginning.
Yeah.
But
I think
Like,
the time has passed.
and you walk through that whole complex, and you're like, Jesus, this is terrifying. It's not like that today. We thank God, but it's because we saw these films. We're like, Jesus, that's not no. You don't put people like that in a cage. You whatever. But maybe that's the thing about film that makes film so important or vital is that it showcases in such vibrant color and 4K at this point, maybe 8K in a couple of years. The truth.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Well, that's the beauty about film, like you're saying. Film is the visual component to see these times that we've gone through in history. Also, the evolving of film, how film is shot, how characters are used, how characters are developed, how more people are becoming, as terms of more cultural is being put into actors and actresses. It continues evolving with society, but film also can show how it was back in the day as well.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to get into that when we start talking about a very specific Best Picture nominee this year. And the way that I felt on Saturday night watching it, like I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that.
And the Oscars too. Like when you see the Oscars, because this is an Oscar episode, you're gonna see how the visual aspect and the causes of the day they're important with the art that is produced during the same time period. You don't want to compare art from the 90s with art from the 2020s. It's a different world. And this is where I love the Oscars. It's showcasing that too. And we all watch what we like to watch. And what hits us really pulls and drives us too. I love it. Like we're going to see this when we see who wins, where are we trending?
Well, I think we've said it before, but John Cusack said it in High Fidelity. It's not about what you're like, it's about what you like. Right. And those things drive conversations and they foster relationships, right? Like would we be in this podcast right now with the four of us if we didn't all have something in common that we loved and we enjoyed? And that's what going to the movies and the Oscars does. And it's this beautiful thing that like I don't know that I can put into words properly, right? Like you go to the movies, you turn your phone off for 2 hours, and nothing else in this world exists besides you and that story on the screen. And that's what the Oscars brings out the best of. And I know people get upset because this person wasn't nominated or that person wasn't nominated, but you can't nominate everybody. But it's a great thing still.
Yep.
The word cinema always sticks out to me because when I saw Scorsese's most recent
The Irishman?
The Irishman, and yeah, it was a full on 3 hour, like you knew it was 3 hours. And so I went and saw the one cinema place here that was showing like on the big screen, the cinema. And Scorsese said, see it in the cinema. Well, that does make a difference. When you get there, lights go down, you're alone, and now you're watching. And what you just said, Justin, was perfect because you're in that moment and all the blinders go up, right? You put your phone away, unless it's a shitty movie.
Right.
And or Sonic the Hedgehog, whatever. But then you're there in that moment and you're locked in and you just take in this art. And it is something that is vital and I think integral to
it's my favorite medium for I guess ingesting or taking in art, like and the movies is my favorite. Even movies like Sonic the Hedgehog have a place where it's just an hour and a half of fun, or Transformers to see shit blown up, for lack of better words, right? Like
play style. Let's go.
Some movies are just there to just take you out of the reality you're in.
It's called suspension of disbelief. We get that break for a few hours about the reality of this shit ass world we kind of like maneuver through, because the reality of the world we live in is just kind of not as great as these awesome fictional worlds that we can just kind of jump into for a second.
You're not wrong. I think that's a perfect segue for the worst movie we've ever seen, though.
Ooh.
Yeah. So our second question on Twitter was the worst movie we've ever seen, in cahoots with the Golden Raspberries that are going to be given out with the Oscars. So we got the Southside Boys, who put Alexander. That movie was pretty bad. Bill Coaster put in Duplex. Kyle McMahon said Congo, and it isn't even close. I like Congo, but I mean, it is what you like. Carmen Mike Wasaks gave a very controversial choice here. He gave two. One was Burt Wonderstone, which wasn't really that good. But he also said followed by the Blair Witch. And I was like, no.
I wasn't like, no, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? like the Blair Witch came out, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the summer of 99.
Yes.
It came out the summer of 99, and I saw it at a 12:30 show at AMC South Barrington. I was working at the theater at the time, right? And I saw this like 12:30 like PM show, broad daylight, and I still walked out of it scareder than I've ever been in my entire life. And the thing is that it's a movie where you have to pay attention to it and listen to the finer details. When they're telling the story of how the witch didn't want the eyes of the children on her, so she'd put them in the corner so she didn't see. And then the final shot is the cast in the corner with the camera on them.
Well, yeah.
That shit scared me. Now, if he would have said the Blair Witch Project, which was the sequel X amount of years later, I probably would have been okay with that. Or Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows with the weird Marilyn Manson soundtrack. Like, I would have been okay with that. But the first Blair Witch was so groundbreaking, and the marketing alone on that thing was that people thought it was a real thing for the longest time. We didn't have the internet before.
The Sci-Fi Channel did a whole full 1 hour fake documentary about Coffin Rock and the Blair Witch,
Burkittsville, Maryland.
Yep, the whole thing. And so it's the first actual evidence of a viral marketing campaign in film history that chose to use all when the film came out, there was a whole backstory. If you weren't paying attention, that was your fault. But the people that didn't pay attention still were scared shitless because, but again, I'll tell you this right now. I was my first date with my ex-wife, was Blair Witch Project.
Schindler's List.
Now, this is before we were dating, but it was like we hung out, I guess. She was there too. And we went there, and the whole show, I knew that I watched all this shit. And it was on VHS. I still probably have the VHS tape in the back, but VHS, because I always taped things that I cared about. And this is again 99. That's how we did it. And oh my God, this whole thing, the whole story about the witch and from back in the 1700s, but also there were more stories in between, like the guy that killed the 56 kids, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Oh, I got it. And then nobody else knew that. And that special that they did on the Sci-Fi Network was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Carmen Mike Sox. I can't back you on this one. I'll give you Burt Wonderstone, but I'm not giving you Blair Witch.
Nope.
Yep. And just for the reasons you guys gave, the marketing, I remember in 99, I was 14. So that was when you go on the internet, you actually go to the Blair Witch website, which actually had missing tags of all the cast. Yep. Yeah, actually, the greatest part, I think, of the film was you didn't really see anything scary, except you saw things pushing on the campfire, the tent. You heard sounds.
The bag of teeth. The bag of teeth still fucks with me.
And it was tongue as well, his tongue.
But yeah.
But you also, the movie was made for such a low budget. And it made, I think, over 300 million, I think.
It's one of the most profitable movies of all time.
That and what is it? The Paranormal Activities?
Yeah.
Were the most
it set off. It set off.
Yep. And the best part is when you hear about how they tortured the cast. Well, everything you see was so natural because they were told, here, go here. And then the rest was them fucking with them the whole production.
Yeah.
So when you hear the especially the female lead, she's like, it was torture. They tortured them, and that reminds me of Kubrick in The Shining. Sometimes you draw the shit out of your artist, and it's pure.
See if you get the best out of them.
Yeah, but it's also terribly abusive.
It's also the worst too. No, absolutely. Yeah. But that's another series. We probably didn't need 6 of them. but I love the Paranormal Activity movie, like the first Paranormal movie. Like it was just a good time in the theater, and it scared me, and it was fun. And yeah, Blair Witch is unreal. I'm not giving him that one at all. What else do we got? Yep.
Totally agree. So we already went through Congo. I like Congo. I really like Tim Curry. That's my man.
Do you think that Kyle didn't like it because it was Michael Crichton's, like, Jurassic Park had just come out, and it was Michael Crichton's, like, everyone was like, oh, it's Michael Crichton, it's going to be amazing, and it just wasn't what everybody thought it was going to be.
It was Amy Monkey.
It was Amy, but come on, man, you had Delroy Lindo in there. Why are you eating my cake? Come on. That part still cracks me up to this day. The Amy part makes me laugh too because it's so fake, though. I don't know, just
It was me and my buddies, like old, like we need to get out of this double date. Amy Monkey. Yeah, let's go, bro. It was bye.
Duplex. I don't think I've seen Duplex. I've seen Alexander. It's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Duplex is a Ben Stiller flick, right?
Yeah, that was just bad.
Yeah.
It starts the worst movie I've ever seen, though. That was Warren Beatty, Dustin Hoffman, and nothing. Like the two of them in the same cinema frame could have produced something. It was the worst. And I was a kid too. Like it scarred me.
I have two that I like. I didn't put on a list, but I have two that I thought were really bad. One I was really excited to see because I wanted to see how they're going to portray this autobiography, and that was Gotti with John Travolta.
Oh, Kevin Connolly directed that. From Entourage.
Really, really bad.
Horrible movie. I think John Travolta had a baby, like a project with it. That was his baby, but it was bad.
It might have been.
The second movie. Oh, I'm sorry, Swell. But the second movie that I had is something me and my wife joke about. One night watching, I think Netflix, she picked a movie called Harold. This movie is about a kid who looks like he's like 50 with balding head with Cuba Gooding Jr. as his janitor. It's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and we still laugh about it today how bad it was.
Harold. I don't know if I've seen Harold.
Yeah, it's not worth seeing. It's a horrible movie.
It's like the reverse of Jack with Robin Williams.
Yeah. And it's like the janitor giving him confidence. It's just so bad.
I haven't seen Jack in a long time. Was Jennifer Lopez like Robin Williams' mom? Or was that his teacher?
No. His teacher wasn't her. His teacher, I think, was Bill Cosby. It was a teacher that came to his house.
Who did Jennifer Lopez play?
I think that was his mom. I think she played his mom.
So Robin Williams' mom was Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, Miss Marquez. Or was she the teacher? Let me see. I'm gonna make sure. No. Diane Lane was his mother, and Miss Marquez was his teacher.
Diane Lane?
Yeah, Diane Lane was his mom. So I mean, pretty good looking mom.
Diane Lane was.
You mean Cherry Valance?
Yep, Cherry Valance.
She was in that movie with Richard Gere, Unfaithful.
Yep, that's that movie, the hottest movie.
That movie messed
Oliver
me up.
Martinez.
That was a good movie.
That was a great one.
Ooh, she's a smoke show, man.
Tissue, thank you for your service.
She used to be married to Christopher Lambert of the Highlander.
The Highlander or Raiden from Mortal Kombat.
The worst, the biggest Mario Puzo film of all time, which was The Sicilian, which needs to be remade as an actual good film.
Properly.
That's a historic figure that actually existed and was badass, and nobody's telling his story, which is horrible.
It's
and
so funny.
Lambert fucked it up so bad.
It's so funny that Yumper said Gotti, because even the director, Kevin Connolly, E from Entourage, was like, yeah, I don't claim that on my filmography at all. Like he knew it was bad.
It was horrible.
Yep.
I went to the theater on opening night to see that at AMC River East. Like I got out of work and I took the red line down and I was so excited for it. And I walked out like with about 20 minutes left. And Kelly's like, is the movie over already? I'm like, it was over when it started.
The worst part is, I think like there were some heavy hitters like rumored to be attached to that film with Travolta.
Oh, for sure.
Joe Pesci was actually in talks to come back and they didn't pay him enough.
I don't know. Like John Travolta tried to do the mobster thing when he did Punisher. Like he did the non-MCU version of Punisher.
He did.
I just don't buy it, man. I just don't buy him as a bad guy like that. He's bad.
Well, he was good in Face Off.
Yeah, I think that was a little different. Like, I don't know, man.
But let's get into the reason why we're here. Let's get into the 2022 Oscars. And we're going to start off with the Best Supporting Actress nominees. I'm just going to go down a list and give a little info on them. So the first one is Jessie Buckley. It's her first nomination for playing the young Lita character in the film The Lost Daughter. Ariana DeBoy, first nomination for playing Anita in the film West Side Story. Judi Dench, her third supporting actress nomination. She won for Shakespeare in Love and her 8th overall nomination for playing Granny in Belfast. Kristen Dunst is her first nomination for playing Rose Gordon in the film The Power of the Dog. And Anjanea Ellis, first nomination for playing Brandy Williams in the film King Richard. So, gentlemen.
And the Oscar goes to...
What do you guys think? We'll start off with you, Swell.
Well, I think it's wide open, but I think Judi Dench wins this for Belfast. I watched Belfast the other night, and it was just this gorgeous piece of work that I highly recommend. And she was fantastic in it. The story was something that I never expected. I would go Judi Dench.
Pete, what about you?
I think it's going to be Ariana DuBois from West Side Story. I don't think Judi Dench will win because Judi Dench has already won. So I think that's what tips it into Ariana's, tips it to her. And just the fact that she, it would be weird symmetry because Rita Moreno played Anita in the 1961 version of West Side Story and won Best Supporting Actress. So it would just be this whole weird symmetry if, you had this. I think this would be the second instance of two different actresses playing the same character,
the same role,
winning the same character winning the Oscar.
So I won't be mad either way. I loved West Side Story. I thought West Side Story was a very good, faithful remake, and I love Belfast, and I like King Richard, so I'm not going to be mad whoever wins this.
Yeah. Trivia question. Do you know who the one instance I'm thinking of a famous character was played by two different famous actors who won for Oscars for it?
That's Vito Corleone.
Yes, it is.
Nero and Marlon Brando.
Yumper, let Kfidds in.
Oh God, Kfidds, come on, man.
How was that being heard?
That
Earlier,
was me. My stuff's on Do Not Disturb unless I get a text message, and someone had to be let back in the room.
That'd be emergency.
All right.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I know about that.
I couldn't hear you.
Kfidds,
I heard Pete talking about
Kfidds, who do you think's gonna take this award?
Best Supporting Actress.
Of course, from West Side Story.
Ariana DuBois.
So I think that's where Pete went. I went Judi Dench for Belfast.
She's been my pick. She's been my pick for. Well, Dench would be like a vote for like reflex. Would be a reflex vote. But DuBois has been. She was actually. I also felt there were multiple members of the cast of West Side Story that were actually snubbed too. But no, she is 100% the best actress, supporting actress.
She was amazing. Award. She's gorgeous, and that remake was amazing. I loved it immensely.
It was actually so good that people underrated it. That's what I feel about it. It was. We've seen West Side Story, but it is actually a better West Side Story.
I would disagree, but
is there going to be fighting amongst the Tainted Glove crew tonight? Like,
maybe, but it's not that kind of fight though. What I liked about this was the cinematography. What Pete likes is the storytelling too, and I think that you agree, right? Or no? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I just thought the cinematography was better.
I totally agree. The cinematography in this version is off the charts. Totally agree.
I also think Pete has a soft spot for the original.
Yes, and
because he's
I've confessed that. I have confessed that.
100%.
Also, man, it's got Rita Moreno in it, like as the lead. And I mean, I love Rita Moreno. But
technically, they both have Rita Moreno.
Yeah, but she's not the lead in that movie, though. She's not. She's a supporting character. But Ariana DeBose is actually won the Golden Globe for her role in West Side Story. I think she's gonna win. Although I do want to give a shout out to Kristen Dunst. I think Kristen Dunst actually did a really good job in The Power of the Dog.
Yep.
So I think she deserves props for her role. I think Ariana deserves to win this.
She also hosted SNL and was fantastic on SNL.
When did she host it? Back in the day with Spider-Man or recently?
No. I'm talking about from West Side Story. She hosted SNL
okay.
recently, and she was really good.
Yes. I thought you meant Kirsten Dunst. I was like, oh wow, I missed that.
All right, so let's go on to our next role. This one's for Best Supporting Actor. We got Ciarán Hinds for his first nomination for playing Pop in Belfast. Troy Kotsur, his first nomination for playing Frank Rossi in the film Coda. He's actually the first deaf man ever to be nominated for an Oscar. Jesse Plemons, his first nomination for playing George Burbank in The Power of the Dog. J.K. Simmons' second nomination, he won for Fletcher in Whiplash for playing William Frawley in Being the Ricardos. And then we have Cody Smith-McPhee, which is his first nomination for playing Peter Gordon in the film Power of the Dog. So, gentlemen.
And the Oscar goes to...
Let's start this one off with Mr. Han.
Who do I think should win versus who do I think will win? I think who will win is the gentleman, I forget his name, the deaf gentleman.
Troy Kotsur?
Troy Kotsur. I think he will win because the Academy and all their pompousness loves a story like this. Look how inclusive we are and everything else. So I think he will win. Who do I think should win? It's a toss-up between JK and God, I can't. Ciarán Hinds.
What about you, Fitz?
Well, I think Pete overlooked his criticism of the Academy because Cody Smith-McGee is going to probably win for Best Actor. I actually thought the kid was great in Power of the Dog. He was really awkward, and you like almost feel sympathy for him at the beginning of the film, and then by the time the film ends, you love this. It's a growth story. It's a character that was resistant to one person's lifestyle versus or his temperament, whatever, at the time, and you see this like develop, and you're like so excited. But spoiler alert, nothing's like what it seems. And that film, like the ending of that film, actually was. Like, again, it was so much better than the beginning. Like, if you want to talk about a film that really pushes 25% towards its finale, that is that film. And this kid killed me. Like, Lucas Haas. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Witness.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He has that same sentiment, but he's taller and stretched. So he's that performance, but with not a small kid, but like a someone that if they chose to enforce their will, they could if they wanted to. And I his role was really, I think he will win.
Swell.
I'm going to agree with Fidds on who I think is going to win. Once again, I thought Gran and Pops in Belfast were fantastic. I don't think that J.K. Simmons was in Being the Ricardos enough to win an award. Like, he was good in it, and I thought the movie was decent, but I don't think he wins. I love Jesse Plemons, but he's always going to be Matt Saracen's best friend on Friday Night Lights to me. Like, you'll never convince me otherwise. So I'm going to go with Belfast again.
Yeah, so this one was kind of hard for me. Totally agree with you on J.K. Simmons. I love J.K. Simmons. I'll go into it more later, but I just didn't think that this kind of was like a surprise to me that he got nominated for his role. Jesse Plemons, I love him as a character actor. I think he's great. In this role, I thought he was okay. I do think Cody Smith-McPhee wins, one, because he won the Golden Globe for it already, and two, like his performance besides Ciarán Hinds is a little better. Ciarán Hinds, excuse me, is a little better. So I would go with Cody Smith-McPhee as well for this one. Let's go on to our next one. For Best Actress, we have Jessica Chastain, her third nomination, second lead nomination for playing Tammy Faye Baker in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. We have Olivia Colman, third nomination, and she won for her lead in Favorites. For playing Aunt Lita, adult Lita, I'm sorry, and The Lost Daughter. We have Penelope Cruz, her fourth nomination. She won for Vicky Cristina Barcelona for playing Janice in The Parallel Mothers. And then we have Nicole Kidman with her fifth nomination. She won for The Hours for her lead for playing Lucille Ball in Being the Ricardos. So let's start this one off with Kfidds. Who do you think is going to win this one?
Again, with these, you got a heavyweight cast with these.
Oh, excuse me, Fitz. I forgot one more. We have Kristen Stewart.
It's going to be
with her first nomination.
It's going to be Kristen Stewart.
I was going to say where you kind of left. I was like, wait,
Spencer was fantastic.
Spencer's that's actually a no-brainer.
She killed it. She like.
Yep.
I hate Kristen Stewart. I hate her. I've never liked her. She could never act. She absolutely destroyed this role. She was fantastic in it. If you haven't seen Spencer, it will fuck you up. It takes place over Christmas, like a Christmas holiday. And her mental health is slowly deteriorating. She just split up with Prince Charles. It's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it.
And put out the fucking Kristen Stewart like Twilight bullshit.
She stomped it out. She can act. She showed emotion.
On the Road, one of her best performances is On the Road, which is a fantastic film that nobody's probably ever seen, and it was. She's underrated again, just like Robert Pattinson for Batman. Underrated because of the Twilight Saga. Fuck the Twilight Saga. These are good. These are actually good actors and actresses. 100%.
You're not wrong. And I'm going to be, this is one where like I have skin in the game. I'm going to be disappointed if it's not Kristen Stewart for Spencer.
Yep. Done.
I can't add anything else to that. I think they nailed it. I can't add anything else.
Totally agree. And it just, if you're looking at the YouTube video, just her transformation to Diana, very, very like high resemblance to her. It kind of reminds me of when, I forget her name, the movie Monster.
Charlize Theron.
When she transformed into the serial killer, like just her physical transformation, and like she looked just like her, Arlene Warren.
Yeah.
And same thing with Kristen Stewart and Princess Diana. She looks like you see the resemblance there. I think she did a really good role. I think it's her breakout role in terms of getting her acting cred. So I think she's my choice to win.
Leaving Twilight in the dust, just like Robert Pattinson started doing that with Tenet, and I think the circle is complete.
And the Lighthouse.
The
Lighthouse.
Good time.
Yeah, but I think the circle's complete in a couple weeks when the Batman comes out.
Oh God.
Yeah,
guys, you guys have to see On the Road.
Is that based on the Kerouac novel?
It is the Kerouac novel. It came out I got to see the world premiere in San Francisco, which is awesome. That's Kristen Stewart plays. If you've read the novel, her role is on point for that character, and that was the thing that I was like, this girl, she's got it. That's it. Like that was. I've never seen a character that I had read in a literary manner that met the same. Like again, when you read Michael Corleone, Michael Corleone does not fit Al Pacino. Actually, it doesn't. He's got olive skin. He's smooth. He's actually attractive. At the time, not so much. So it's weird, but she played it. And so,
Michael, will you just tell that poor girl you love her?
Michael, why don't you tell that poor girl you love her?
I love you with all my heart. If I don't see you soon, I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
Leave the gun. Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
Oh God.
No. And he says he calls it gravy. By the way,
Yes.
Let all gravy callers like me bask in gravy. It's not fucking soft.
He also puts sugar in his gravy, though.
Yes, he does.
So do we. Brown sugar.
So
yeah, you're correct.
shove
this
the sausage
conversation
in there
goes like
too.
it goes
My
the
wife's
same
Sicilian.
way.
She doesn't put sugar in her gravy.
Pork neck bone.
This conversation goes the same way any conversation I have with my old man does. We can always find a way to turn it into a Goodfellas quote or a Godfather quote, no matter what we're talking about.
Casino too.
Yeah.
All right,
Also,
so I
this-
think we're all in agreement here. I think Kristen
I
Stewart's
think-
got to be the horse to beat here.
Yeah.
I think she ran
Yeah.
our board.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to see what really happens because Nicole Kidman did win the Golden Globe for her role.
Oh God,
True, but that was a TV show or
It was best.
Blank
It was
Midnight.
actually Best Actress. I just looked it up today. So
Was
okay,
it? But
so
was
she-
it comedy or was it drama?
it was. I'll tell you exactly right now.
can I tell
I
you
think-
something
Yeah,
while
here we
Yump
go.
is looking
Comedy
that
or
up?
drama.
Nicole,
Drama is different.
Nicole Kidman
Didn't
does.
Kristen Stewart win 1-2?
Nicole Kidman does this commercial at the beginning of all movies at AMC,
Yes.
and
Oh,
it is like
yeah.
it is like one of the robots in Will Smith's iRobot.
Well, I don't think she
Creeps
can
me
move
out.
her face because there's been so much plastic surgery.
It's
Yes.
so bad. It's so bad.
It was drama.
Was it? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like Nicole Kidman as an actress. I just think
I did.
like
I think
Kristen
the
Stewart.
Oscars are more European though, and the Golden Globes. Wait, no, actually, reverse.
Yeah,
that.
the Golden Globe.
Never
yeah.
mind. Yeah, you're probably right. Shit.
We'll see, guys. So let's move on to our next one. For Best Actor, we have Javier Bardem, his fourth nomination. He won an Oscar again for Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men for playing the role of Desi Arnaz in Being the Ricardos. We have Benedict Cumberbatch with his second nomination for playing the role of Phil Burbank in Power of the Dog. Will Smith with his fourth nomination for playing the role of Richard Williams in King Richard. He's actually nominated for 2 Oscars with this movie, one for Best Picture and the Best Actor. And then we have the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes, Denzel Washington, with his 10th nomination. His 7th for a leading role. He won for Training Day back in the day, and his second and he has 2 for Best Supporting Actor, which he won for Glory. And he also has a Best Picture nomination with Fences for playing the role of Macbeth in Tragedy of Macbeth. And then rounding it out, we have Andrew Garfield with his second nomination for playing the role of Jonathan Larson in Tick, Tick, Boom.
Can I say one thing real quick? That picture you have posted, he looks like Kramer.
Yes, that's why I posted that. That's why I put it out.
I was gonna go Morrissey. Like my thought went to Morrissey.
No, I thought Kramer. That's why I put it on the my little presentation here. But gentlemen,
And the Oscar goes to
so Mr. Kfidds, who do you think this Oscar is going to go to?
Andrew Garfield. Have you seen Tick Tick Boom? It's fantastic. I actually had no idea that was what happened to produce the film Rent or the stage play Rent. Like that was Andrew Garfield is maybe the most underrated comedic film actor. Again, you guys saw in Spider-Man. He's hilarious. Like he's actually his body language, his dude's good. I think he's going to win for Best Actor. But if Benedict Cumberbatch wins, I'll also say fantastic, and also say make sure you get vaccinated because his character would say I agree.
So everything that I'm reading, I think this is Will Smith's award to lose.
Jesus,
Yeah, I'm
the worst.
I didn't say I agree with it. I didn't.
Denzel over Will Smith.
I didn't say I agree with it, but everything I'm reading, like,
Jesus,
it's Will Smith to lose.
I know it should.
I think who do I think again, I'm gonna do this. Who do I think should win? Benedict Cumberbatch. Who do I think will win? I think it's Will Smith.
Jesus, really? Both?
Yes. I just because the Academy
He shouldn't even been nominated.
but the Academy is the Academy has a tendency to they're self-righteous assholes in a lot of ways, and they don't necessarily vote for who's the most deserving. And I can give you 2 examples of movies that should have won Best Picture that were overclipped by other movies because of who was involved with them, but that's for later. I just think that it's Will Smith's quote unquote time in their eyes.
So Vulture wrote I think today or yesterday, Best Actor looks like Will Smith to lose, but can King Richard compete anywhere else? Probably not.
And that's part of it too. That's part of the equation too. They want to make sure that there's a variety in who gets awards. They generally don't like it when one movie, steamrolls all the awards, like the Titanic effect. They hated the fact that Titanic won that much.
God,
they want to quote unquote spread the wealth.
Yeah, but Leo didn't even get nominated for Best Actor in that movie.
Well, yet.
I love that movie so much.
But totally agree with you, Pete. I think Benedict Cumberbatch should win. His role as the rancher in The Power of the Dog, he plays it perfectly. He's very, very good at playing a complete asshole, and he does it to perfection in this movie.
Even as Doctor Strange, he's somewhat of an asshole.
He kind of was, yeah.
Can I say this though? Like, I agree with you, but Denzel as Macbeth translated to the role better than any actor I've ever seen play the role. Does that make sense?
Do you think that? But I'm just curious.
It's a best cinematography award. His performance is, because Denzel is so good, it's average.
Do you think that? But being an Apple TV Plus movie will hurt it?
I think that it's Shakespeare, and that hurts it because people don't want to even try and translate the dialogue that goes on.
I think you're both right. I
had a parent complain to me.
I think both things.
She said that she shouldn't have her kid taught about a writer that died 100 years ago. I'm like, ma'am, like 400.
400.
All right. Well, yeah. I'm like, nah. For me, I'm like, no, but it's good. I mean, he's so good. His cadence with the iambic pentameter of Shakespeare is perfect.
Ooh, we just got our first Yumper and Sfo iambic pentameter mention on the pod. So in honor of that, Fidds, you have to repeat all of Julia Stiles' monologue from 10 Things I Hate About You. So we're gonna count down from 5. No, I'm just messing with you.
Very good call there. Very good call there.
No, I think
I
think for this podcast, he would need to give Samuel L. Jackson's speech from Pulp Fiction.
How about Snakes on a Plane?
Serious anger.
No, or he could do Samuel L. Jackson from Jurassic Park. Please, motherfucker.
Yeah, hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts.
No, Fitz, I agree with you. I think Denzel was very good in his role as Macbeth. I just think that the bad thing is that, one, I think there's a lot of pushing for Will Smith to win this. Just even what Swole was saying. 2, Will Smith already won the Golden Globe for this role. So usually, just going by history, how the Oscars work, usually that's how it goes in. Like, if you win the Golden Globe, most of the time you're going to win an Oscar for it. I just think another thing too is that people might look at Denzel as he's as a expected performance from Denzel. You expect greatness with Denzel, and that could hurt him too. But I just think
it always hurts him. It always hurts him. It permanently will hurt him.
I think though Benedict Cumberbatch just like going into watching the movie today. I watched The Power of the Dog before we did pod to catch up on my stuff, and he's magnificent in it. And he also not just be playing the asshole, but he also gives you like layers behind his character. And I thought it was perfectly done, just his role.
I still think Andrew Garfield, but you just 100%.
So I think with what Yump just said about Denzel Washington reminds me of the late great Raul Julia in the cinematic masterpiece, the 1994 Street Fighter.
Street Fighter,
of course.
When he says,
"I knew you were going to Street Fighter." When
he says, "For you, it was the most important day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday."
The Raul Julia, of course, like was like a big like gag back in the 2000s when somebody would be like, "What are you talking about?" Of course, like it would just have him. That part makes me laugh so much. I love Raul Julia.
Best Buy just released a steelbook of Street Fighter on 4K Blu-ray, and it sells for like $40 because people love that movie. And we have an upcoming episode. In fact, it's going to be our next episode where Yump and I talk about cult classics. And Absolutely,
nice.
Street
Oh.
Fighter's going to be in there.
Nice.
They say have Kali Minogue with a fucking rocket launcher, dude.
Based on what I know as friends with Yump, that means number one conversation will revolve around Big Trouble
In Little China.
Oh,
Miss a button.
it's a
My
Burton.
favorite Halloween costume I've ever
I thought it
worn.
was going to be that
favorite
2022
junk.
Disney masterpiece in
No.
Kanto.
No.
Well, oh yeah, Encanto. Oh no, it'll be Encanto.
All right, Yump, what do
All
you
right,
got?
let's-
Let's keep this train rolling.
Yeah, let's move on to our next one. So
Please,
with
as fast as possible from Encanto.
our next category is for Best Director. We have Kenneth Branagh, his 8th nomination, first for a director, for directing Belfast. We have, excuse me if I mispronounce his name, Ryosuke Hamaguchi, his 2nd nomination. The other one was for a screenplay for directing Drive My Car. We have Jane Champion, her 5th nomination, her 2nd for Best Director. She won for Best Screenplay for The Piano for directing The Power of the Dog. We have one of the greats, heavy hitters, Paul Thomas Anderson, in his 11th nomination, 3rd for directing Licorice Pizza. And then, who some might consider one of the greatest directors of all time, if not the greatest, Senor Steven Spielberg, with his 19th nomination, 6th directing nomination. And you remember he won for Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. Gentlemen, let's open this up with Mr. Han. Who do you think is going to win?
I think it's going to be Kenneth Branagh.
It has to be.
That's who I think it's going to be. And using the same principle that I said earlier about trying to spread the wealth around to all the different nominees. Because Spielberg's already got a couple in his pocket. Licorice Pizza, while it was an okay movie, I hated Gary in that movie. And I can't remember the girl's name in that movie. I hated both of them. So, no right mind can I say. Jane Campion has already won one. And I just think, that it's going to be Branagh.
Swell?
Did you, Yumper, yesterday, did you watch Belfast?
Yes.
I have not felt that way about a movie in a long time. And I think Kenneth Branagh, his finger in everything, using all Van Morrison music in the movie was a fantastic touch. I know that has nothing to do with best directing, but his finger was kind of in the pot for everything. The way the movie was shot, it's gotta be Kenneth Branagh. It's gotta be.
Fidds?
So can I preface this? Because obviously you're making fantastic points. That I will actually be watching Belfast immediately while we walk off this chat. So, but prior to seeing Belfast, it's Jane Campion to me because the film itself, the message, what she put her actors through, she pulled performances of some people's lifetimes. For me, I think she'll win, but I want Kenneth Branagh to win.
When you get done watching it, I need you to text. I need you to hop in the group chat. Like,
I will.
Pete, put it on mute if you're going to bed. Yumper, if you're going to bed, I'll be up for a little bit. Like,
I love Kenneth Branagh since Swing Kids. Like his character in Swing Kids. Like, so don't worry. Like, I want him to have the best one. So I'm biased.
I am excited.
But once I watch Belfast, it's biased.
I am excited for you to watch this movie because it was that flipping good. I had no idea.
He's so good.
I had no idea about the story, about the troubles that they called them in Northern Ireland, and how this was like basically the inspiration for Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2. And like this movie it makes you feel all the feels. It was the perfect movie.
So there's my preface. And I have not. It's TBD.
Totally agree with all of you. I think it's Kenneth Branagh by a landslide. Jane Campion won for the Golden Globe for her directing role of Power of a Dog. But Belfast is just, I think it's it's beautifully shot. Again, so you mentioned the music, everything that the director had his hands on, he made, like, it's just perfect. I also think Steven Spielberg did a good job doing West Side Story. It's a more updated version, and Some might say it's better, some might say it isn't, but it's also a retelling of a story that actually was a pretty big thing back in the day as well. So I think that kind of hurt him. Paul Thomas Anderson, to be honest, I didn't see Licorice Pizza, but from what Pete and Kevin have told me, it's a good movie, but probably not his best.
Mhm.
And
his best is There Will Be Blood and Boogie Nights.
Yes.
Like, and I don't know, like I think he has it in him, but I don't know if he can ever top those two movies.
Well, he had, and There Will Be Blood, probably the greatest actor.
Yes.
And Boogie Nights, I mean, he had Marky Mark, so come on. No.
Who wrote the screenplay? Who wrote the screenplay for Boogie Nights? Like, I know it was based on like some John Holmes stuff, but
what's his
was
name?
it an original story?
Yeah, what's his name? I feel like it was the guy, the same thing that wrote the.
Actually, it says Paul Thomas Anderson wrote the screenplay.
And that's the thing. Like, we talk about
the book. There's no book.
No, well, that's what I'm getting to. Like, we talk about Boogie Nights and we talk about There Will Be Blood, and most of the time the conversation tilts heavy towards There Will Be Blood as Paul Thomas Anderson's best movie, and it very well might be. But the source material was already there because it was Upton Sinclair's Oil, and Boogie Nights.
Have you seen? But did you see Wonderland with?
With Val Kilmer?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Like,
same story.
Well, but Wonderland focused on
the murders.
Only on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
but that's the end of.
Well, yeah, that's the end of Boogie Nights. Yeah, exactly.
But what I'm saying is like the source material was there. Upton Sinclair's Oil was already a great novel. And Boogie Nights was all an original screenplay from Paul Thomas Anderson. So for me, like, if we're talking about, and we'll have a deep dive in PTA's like filmography, like, for me, Boogie Nights is always going to be like top tier, just slightly above There Will Be Blood.
Well,
I felt like,
go ahead.
But I felt like this most recent film was below his. Like, I felt like it was actually one of his bottom half films.
You felt that way about Licorice Pizza?
Yeah, I felt like he had moments of brilliance, and then I felt like there were also like gaps of like where I was like,
Bradley Cooper.
Whereas I also felt like,
do you think it's because we expect so much out of him? Like if you go through the list, let's just do it real quick. Like, you did Boogie Nights, you did Magnolia, you did The Master, you did There Will Be Blood, you did Phantom Thread, right? You did Inherent Vice. Like, all these movies are amazing. Like, and he just keeps getting better.
I forgot the Adam Sandler film.
Oh yeah, Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
Speaking of, did you guys see the preview for Hustle?
Yes.
That'd be good.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Could be fun.
Go ahead, Pete. You were about to say something?
Yeah,
I was going to say that. Oh no, I was going to say that. You know, to me, with Licorice Pizza, I agree it's in the lower tier of his films. That's not necessarily the lower tier of his films. Right, is not an insult at all. I mean, you know, compared to like some other directors and the shit they make, you know,
not McGee's third best film, like
Uwe Boll.
You know,
Dennis Dugan.
I think, yeah. Hey, look, Dennis Dugan. Dennis Dugan gave us Happy Gilmore, didn't he?
He did, and Big Daddy.
Big Brother, or Big Daddy. Yeah, I was gonna say Big Brother, but it's Big Daddy. But to me, with Licorice Pizza, the only inspired moment I would say in that movie is when Bradley Cooper is on the screen.
Great.
He's great.
He was so good.
You know,
it also was really creepy to know that she was like 25 and he was like 16,
exactly that.
And also that I had a hard time with that, and that's probably me just like applying modern day like feels to 19. What year was it? 73. Because remember the when did the Licorice Pizza record store close? That's when so is it 72, 71,
this took
73?
Place in 73.
There you go. So that's it was different.
Yes,
definitely.
I'm sorry. You don't want to play that card, but it's like it really was different. So
yeah, definitely. Let's move on to our last category. This one is for Best Picture, and we got 10 films that are nominated. The first being Belfast. Then we have Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and rounding it out with West Side Story. So, gentlemen,
And the Oscar goes to
Mr. Swole, start us off.
So before I give you my prediction, I think that the Best Picture category has about 5 too many nominees. When they changed it a couple years ago, they screwed everything up. I would safely eliminate a few. I would eliminate Dune. I watched it yesterday, and it was pretty freaking boring, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I get it. I know it's a beloved book. It doesn't have to be for everybody. I would kick Dune off of there right away. I would also get rid of King Richard, right? It was good, and the Venus and Serena's story is powerful. I would definitely get rid of Coda. Coda does not belong on that list. And I would probably get rid of Don't Look Up. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I think that Power of the Dog probably wins Best Picture. But I also wouldn't be surprised if West Side Story took it home or Belfast. Those are my 3 heavy hitters. Yeah.
Fitz?
I don't think I could have made a better damn point with exactly what I was thinking at 100%. Don't Look Up, King Richard. Look,
I would even honestly, I would even eliminate Licorice Pizza. To be honest,
I disagree. I disagree on Dune a little bit, but not for film, Oscar stuff. I liked Dune as a film, but did I like it as an Academy Award winner? No. You just made the best argument, and I agree. Power of the Dog is going to win. West Side Story, I think, almost should win because it's beautiful. And I can't judge Belfast, but I'll blame my girlfriend for this. I had an IMAX special engagement screening of this film. So it was going to be in a special, and I didn't go because we had to, But, so now watching it on my TV or my phone, I'm going to throw it on in the bed with my headphones on tonight before I go to sleep. And I'm going to watch it.
In his underwear.
Hey, Fitz, you know that.
I might even go nasty, but Licorice Pizza should not be on there. It should be fucking French Dispatch. Fuck you, Licorice Pizza.
Fizz, I think that maybe you should watch. You're off tomorrow, right? You should probably watch Belfast tomorrow after maybe a nice big greasy breakfast and about 12 hours of sleep, bud.
I want to watch it when I've had some whiskey so I can get emotional and cry like a bitch.
You will too.
That's what I want.
So look for those sex tonight, guys.
My buddy told me he cried for the last 20 minutes of this film. I'm like, I'm in for this. I love
beautiful.
It. Break me. That's the best part of a good fucking film. Break your audience.
It's beautiful, man.
Bring it.
I'm excited for you to watch it.
Mr. Han.
I totally agree with if I could, I'd take Coda out, Don't Look Up out. I liked Dune, but I don't see Dune as a best picture. I see Dune winning a shitload of technical awards. I could see taking that out. King Richard, I could see being taken out. Licorice Pizza, I could see being taken out. With all that said, I could see them. Power of the Dog, I think, is going to win, but I could see them handing an envelope that says West Side Story, and then the guy has to come out again and say, no, it's actually Power of the Dog.
Like La La Land?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, horrible. That was the worst.
Warren Beatty, man.
Oh, he was like, is Warren okay?
Yeah. I remember watching that live. I was like, oh man, they actually messed up. Yeah, I think Power of the Dog is going to take it, especially since considering they won the Golden Globe for it. Totally agree with you about certain nominations here. I really like Nightmare Alley. And we'll get to some stuff where I think some people got snubbed in it. But Don't Look Up, I kind of think it's weird that you could be nominated for a Best Picture and none of your actresses or actors have been nominated for any of the individual roles, even though it might be if it's an ensemble or something like that. I just think it's kind of weird that how can you be a Best Picture if nobody else made that breakout a performance in it? That's just me personally thinking. King Richard, I don't think should be. Belfast, I think will give Power of the Dog probably its run for money just because I thought it was very good. I totally agree with Pete. Dune, I think, is a good movie, but I think it's mostly going to win for special effects and cinematography in certain areas that way. And if they do throw a curveball, West Side Story might slide in there, but I think it's between Power of the Dog and Belfast.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. So now that we're done with the categories, let's go to our Oscar snubs and surprises. Now, it doesn't have to be just from this year. It could be from years past. So if they're not watching on YouTube, I have this meme with Dennis Neary from the Jurassic Park saying this guy won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And then he says, see, nobody cares. We got Johnson over here.
Yeah.
No. So let's start off with our first one. Let's go with Swole for this one.
So I think if we're doing all time, I think there's a couple that come to mind right off the bat. First of all, fuck Shakespeare in Love. It should have been Saving Private Ryan. Like,
that was one of mine.
That
was the top of my list.
Saving Private Ryan is a brilliant film. Steven Spielberg is a genius. And my other one is fucking Paul Haggis in Crash. It should have been Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain should have won the Oscar that year instead of Crash. Crash was an average movie with a good cast, but it wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger. That movie was fantastic. I don't care. You can make all the jokes you want. For those that are listening that don't understand, this fucking movie was brilliant. It was beautiful. It was a love story. And I don't care who's listening. This is the first time I got to see Anne Hathaway's titties in a movie, and it was brilliant.
And you're being honest, at least. You're being honest.
It's always a good thing.
Those are my two all-time snubs: Saving Private Ryan over Shakespeare in Love, and Brokeback Mountain over Crash.
So if you're not watching, Pete did the biggest fist bump when he heard Saving Private Ryan.
It's because Saving Private Ryan was number one on my list. How in the world Shakespeare in Love won over not? And don't forget that year. It's not only that it won over Saving Private Ryan, but The Thin Red Line came out that year too. And that was pretty damn good too.
You know how it won, Pete? You know how it won? Because it had Harvey Weinstein's money backing it. And that's exactly how it won.
Yep. Remember, Harvey Weinstein is God. Remember that quote.
Not anymore.
Kfidds, what do you think, man? What do you got?
Oh, Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. Judas and the Black Messiah.
Messiah. Ooh.
Was one of my favorite fucking films. Like, and it blew out my perception of Chicago during that time period too, because I always had the Italian version of it, which was like the mafia, right, or the mob, or the Italians, Taylor Streets. But I didn't realize like what was going on elsewhere, and it was the same time. It was actually the same fucking time period. And you're talking about police trying to like fight the mob, fight the and you're starting to realize that maybe the heroes that some of my parents kind of idolized weren't the same. And this film is so good. And my dad told me, like, he actually, when I asked him, how were you doing when this was going on? And he's like, I was actually terrified. I'm like, why though? And it was a discussion that me and my dad had that was like a really productive discussion. And Daniel Kaluuya playing that role was just as Hampton was so good. And you realize that when you look at again, a lot of this film is true. That's the part that's like almost disconcerting when you think about it, because you want to support the Chicago PD, but shooting someone sleeping while they're in their bed because they were drugged and passed out,
that dude
isn't really.
That dude can act. Did you see Queen and Slim?
Oh, fantastic!
I mean, we could talk about Get Out all day, but like that dude can act. I'm so excited to see Nope. Mm-hmm. Like that dude can act.
Yeah, so great examples by you guys. So with me, I have a few. Just going from this year, the first one, I think Bradley Cooper should have got nominated for his role in Nightmare Alley. I think he was very good in it. Biggest surprise from this year is J.K. Simmons in The Ricardos. I really love J.K. Simmons. I just don't think he had enough screen time to be nominated for his role. It wasn't as impactful as his roles in the past.
I agree with you on that, but I'm going to cite one example. How long was Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love when she won the Best Supporting Actress? How many minutes was she on screen?
Probably like 20 minutes.
Or
not
Belfast.
Even.
Yeah, she
not
wasn't
even.
in Belfast a lot either. Like she was in it, but not a lot.
Like 10 minutes she was on screen in Shakespeare in Love.
I like that's the same thing argument can be made for Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. He was only in I think
I don't think he should have been Best Actor that year.
But like
that's the only supporting role.
And I love J.K. Simmons. I just don't think that he gravitated the audience or me personally to where I'm like, this is like better than the other nominees in that category. Some like snubs, I think totally agree with you on Saving Private Ryan. I have two other ones. One for Robert Shaw and Jaws not getting nominated for Quint. I thought he should have got nominated. That was like the breakout star of that movie.
Nice.
Why
Yes.
don't you
second-
suck up
Yeah,
to
so
Fidds a little bit
down
more,
there.
Yump?
He was,
No, I
he was
love
also in the
Quint.
gutter, passed out, fucking drunk, like the whole production.
Yes.
To get an Oscar for that is awesome.
Well, he was
Like,
drunk when he gave the Indianapolis speech in that movie.
Here's to swimming.
They were all
Here's
drunk.
to swimming
They all
with
were
bow-legged
drinking.
women.
Yep.
Yeah, Robert Shaw though, like
They all drank together for that scene. That's the best part of that.
oh yeah,
scene
they all
was,
got
like,
wasted for that.
your glassy ass
Yeah.
eyed. You're like, oh,
But like the fact that he didn't get nominated just kind of threw me through a loop just reading through it. Another one that some people say could have gone either way, I personally think it shouldn't have, was when Cuba Gooding Jr. won for Jerry Maguire over Edward Norton for
Yes.
Primal Fear.
For Primal Fear.
I think Edward Norton killed that movie. It's probably one of my favorite turns in
100%.
movies, and I love Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire, but I don't think Edward Norton blew it out of the water.
that was a great film. Great
Mhm.
film.
I do have a couple too. One,
Yeah,
I mean,
I was
my-
going to say, Pete, I think we skipped you.
yeah, my number one was already said, and that was Saving Private Ryan losing to Shakespeare in Love.
Such
That one is
bullshit.
like number one with a bullet. A couple other ones happened back-to-back years. Apocalypse Now losing to Kramer versus Kramer in 1979. Raging Bull losing to Ordinary People in 1980. And Goodfellas losing to Dances with Wolves in
Oh.
1990. I mean,
Avatar minus 23. Bitch. Sorry, never mind.
Scorsese got
I don't know if that's the right math. actually, but that was
Scorsese
good.
got screwed twice. Once he lost Best Director those years to he lost Best Director in 1980 to Robert Redford and Ordinary People, and that was Robert Redford's paid his dues. You know, he's done a lot of good movies, so let's give him the award and everything else. Raging
Love
Bull blows Ordinary People away on just so many different levels. You know, Apocalypse Now versus Kramer. Really? Give me a effing break. I mean, even that year, China Syndrome would have been better than Kramer versus Kramer.
Who was Ordinary People trying to like reach? Like, I don't know.
Ordinary People?
I can't.
It takes place on the North Shore of Chicago, so there's who it's trying to reach.
Who was your target audience for that
Rich
film?
white
Like,
people?
Why was it so? See,
Yes.
Oh, Pete, but for Goodfellas, like I was thinking about that too. Like, how'd he lose to Kevin Costner?
Mhm.
Do you think some of the like blowback from Last Temptation of Christ could have like still carried over to that year? Because it was within 2 years.
No,
I mean-
because it happened to him before. It's not like, you know, I mean, he lost out and I'm going to go back to 76. Rocky wins the Best Picture in 76. Right now, I can name three actually. Taxi Driver should have easily beat Rocky.
Hey yo,
All the President's Men should have easily beat Rocky, and Network should have easily beat Rocky. That's three right there. And Scorsese lost out that year. Then he comes up with Raging Bull, who most critics call the best film of the 80s. And he loses out to Ordinary People, which, if you've ever watched it, which I actually unfortunately have,
Terrible.
and I need to drink like 10 Cokes during it to try and stay awake during it because it's so freaking
Terrible.
boring and terrible.
Yep.
You know, and it's like I don't think they appreciated what he was doing in these movies. Because let's face it, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas are very cutting edge, graphic type of movies.
Oh, for sure.
And
They push your discomfort.
Yes.
They push your
yeah,
discomfort.
absolutely they do. And frankly, I know Peter Finch won in 76 for Network. I think De Niro, people still quote Travis Bickle to this day. Are you looking at me? You talking to me?
Not
They
just
still
quote.
quote that to this
Not
day.
just quote, but they made a whole goddamn movie about it. It's called The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely.
Like-
Absolutely. You know, and but you know, Svo, you talked about your dad taking you to see inappropriate movies. My parents
Well,
actually
before-
took me
before-
to
before
the
we go any
Colony
further-
Theater.
Whoa.
Okay.
Before we go
okay,
any
now-
further, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that it
Yeah.
wasn't those inappropriate movies.
No, it is not
because my dad
pornographic
listens to the
movies.
pod.
It is R-rated movies. Yes. Let me clarify. It is not pornographic
Wait.
movies. He's not going to the Highway Theater on 63rd and Western or anything like that.
Hold on a second. So Swole was taken to inappropriate movies.
Age appropriate movies.
Appropriate.
Yes, let's go with age appropriate movies. But my parents took me to see Taxi Driver at the Colony Theater at 59th and Kedzie
Oh,
when it came out. And I don't think they realized what it was, to be honest with you.
so
And
you
here's-
sat through that scene in Taxi Driver where he's in the movies with Jodie Foster,
Yes.
and they're talking about whatever know
No.
what they're talking about, and you
Well, he
sat
takes
next to
Sybil
your parents for
Shepherd.
that?
He takes Sybil Shepherd on a date to one of those movies too.
Yep.
She's like, what the
What
fuck?
are we? What?
Yeah.
Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was like my favorite, like last 5 minutes that we've done so far. The pod. I felt like I was Gary Coleman in Different Strokes with the bicycle shop dealer.
Wow.
But Scorsese was just doing so many things. Scorsese was doing so many things way ahead of his time, and I don't think the old stodgy, because the Oscars generally like the feel-good story and stuff like that. That's why you get movies like Rocky. And I'm going to add one more thing in there. Annie Hall won for Best Picture in 1977 over Star Wars. You think the Academy's sort of regretting that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? To be honest with you, I don't know, because like Scorsese, who's probably one of the is pound for pound probably one of the best directors ever. He considers Marvel movies not really similar. So I don't know. I don't really know how the Academy.
What is cinema though?
I'm saying this is what
one
one of the greatest directors is saying.
Cinema?
But in terms of Scorsese, it's kind of ironic that the movie he considered his B movie, he won for Best Director, and that was The Departed.
And I think that was a Lifetime Achievement Award.
That's
just
exactly what The Departed
Just
was.
like
that was
Paul Newman winning
reputation.
for The Color of Money was more of a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
I love The Departed, and it's one of my favorite Scorsese movies, but it's not Goodfellas. It's not Casino. It's not Taxi Driver. You know what I just found out too, and this hurts me because it's my favorite documentary, but Hoop Dreams didn't get nominated in '94 for Best Documentary.
No.
It absolutely should have.
Hoop Dreams
got adored.
Hoop
Won an
Dreams
Oscar.
should have been nominated, honestly, for Best Picture.
It could have been.
And if you look
It
at
got best.
look
though,
at '94,
right?
let's look at '94. Forrest Gump wins for Best Picture because it's
Pulp
the feel-good
Fiction,
movie.
Forrest Gump,
Pulp Fiction, Shawshank.
Shawshank.
You know, shut out that year, and all nominations ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and which one would you think holds up the best out of all those movies? I think Shawshank does.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Actually, it was so hated when it came out.
That is
too.
such a loaded question.
It's so insane to think, right? Think about that. Like people hate, like it got bad review. It wasn't until it went to DVD, right? Or
Video.
Blu-ray.
Video back then.
I didn't have the
Video.
well, it was
It did not get the success and love that it, like publicly at least, that it was.
well,
It should have.
Right.
it wasn't marketed correctly, but like you're saying, at the box office, it didn't make a lot of money. But it was it's like revolutionized the rental sales
Yes.
of video stores. But like just looking at nominees, like Best Supporting Actor that year was Samuel L. Jackson for Pulp Fiction, Chaz Palminteri for Bullets Over Broadway, Paul Scofield for Quid Show, Gary Sinise for Forrest Gump, and Martin Landau won for Ed Wood, which he was good in.
Yes.
We were off by a year too. It was 95
For what?
There you go.
for when Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, Shawshank.
Well, they
Forrest
came out in
Gump.
'94.
They came out in 94, but the Oscar season,
February of '95.
Oscar season would have been 95.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks went up against Morgan Freeman, Nigel Hawthorne for Madness of King George, Paul Newman, and John Travolta for Pulp Fiction, and he won for Forrest Gump. So I mean, there was like a lot of good movies that year.
That year was like a fucking kung fu.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, but
out of the three of them, the one that holds up, or the one that I would say Shawshank. I think you guys are right.
Yes.
Like I love Pulp Fiction, but Quentin Tarantino's work is so much different now than what it was in '94.
Mm-hmm.
Shawshank's one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. Like it's that good that you could actually watch that film at any point. If you like turn to a channel that had it on, you're probably going to linger on
like
that channel for a bit.
Goodfellas is the same way.
Casino's another one.
And Casino's the same way too.
Casino's always, And even when it's like edited and they're like, "You dumb mother trucker,"
right?
You're like, God damn it! But no, it's 100%.
I think Shawshank actually too, for IMDb, the Internet Movie Base database, is actually the highest rated movie on there. Well, at least it was last year. I think. So that's telling just how much of an impact that movie makes.
Yeah.
But let's go into our last thing for tonight. Let's start with our favorites from the past year. So these are our favorite Oscar winners or movies that we believe should have won Oscars, that were our favorites, that were nominated, or actors or actresses. So let's start off with Mr. Kfidds.
Repeat the question again.
Can you phrase it in the form of a question, please?
Do you have a memorable moment from the Oscars or a movie that like really sticks out to you that like that
One
you
in
want
the
to talk
past.
Well, the greatest moment in film history that I've ever experienced was the moment that I saw the Brachiosaur, Brontosaurus, whatever they're damn called in the science community, but the scene in Jurassic Park when Dr. Grant sees that Brachiosaur, Brontosaurus, whatever, go up, and then it comes down with the John Williams soundtrack, and it just, the whole theater shook, and I felt like everything that I had felt about enjoying a movie shook too. It was kind of like it was the best moment I've ever seen in film. It's the moment that I mean, it just, and then
he turns Dr. Sadler's head to look up.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
And then, when it drops, it drops those fucking front legs, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
I
love movies, and movies are the best thing.
You're hilarious, dude.
I have a scene like that too, but it's not Jurassic Park.
Well, that was a John Holmes film. I know.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Val Kilmer in Wonderland, or it wasn't my stunt work as Marky Mark's cock double in Boogie Nights. But
correct.
I am Jock.
Yes, I am Jock.
I am Bob.
But it's, using what Fidds just laid out, the scene. For me, it has to be the dynamic in Titanic when they emerge from, after they're in the car and they come out of the storage area, whatever the heck it is. And then you splice that with the happiness of that to they see the iceberg. It's just the dynamic shift in the tempo and the feeling, because let's face it, everyone knows what happens when the Titanic hits the iceberg. So you know what's coming, and it's just the way that the scene is laid out, where you have this ultimate happy moment to this ultimate sense of doom impending moment.
Can I be honest too? I actually had this weird mental picture of Rosie O'Donnell on one of those escaping ships out on the ice, like doing her stand-up routine.
No, that was Kathy Bates.
Dressed as Betty from the Flintstones.
That's the problem. It was Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates is up like, wait, what if it was Rosie O'Donnell instead of Kathy Bates?
Shut that hole in your face.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you remember, who was supposed to play Rose initially, don't you? It wasn't Kate Winslet.
I wish it was Kate Beckinsale.
No, it wasn't Kate Beckinsale.
I was just reading this the other day.
Yes.
Who is it, Pete?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes. Okay. I just read this the other day.
Initially wanted to play Rose.
That movie would have sucked.
Yes.
It would have sucked.
Dude, she was good in Shallow Hal.
I don't have a problem with Gwyneth, but like Kate Winslet just knows what she's doing.
Yes. And can I tell a story about Titanic? I took a date with me to see Titanic, and it was the last date I had with this girl because
better than
my date. Yeah, well, at least it's better than your Schindler's List date. I will say that. But in the scene in the drawing room when draw me like one of your French girls, Jack. When you get the breast shot, I said, "Damn, look at that rack." That was the end of it for me, right there.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
For those listening on the podcast, you might want to check out the YouTube video of this one. It's going to be pretty funny just to watch from the Reverend himself in all his glory.
Yes.
So
the
Swell,
Reverend's
what about
having
you?
a good old time.
I've talked about before, like the way movies make me feel, or like that feeling that Kfidds just talked about when it was the Brachiosaurus, not the Brontosaurus. We were taught as kids to call it the Brontosaurus, but Michael Crichton corrected us all.
And we had feathers. We had feathers on a velociraptor
Absolutely.
too, which will now apparently appear in this new film.
Everyone has like that feeling, and I don't know if mine ever like was nominated. I know, like I think it might have won some, or I think Avildsen might have been nominated. But when Miyagi looks over at Daniel and he shakes his head, and you know that the crane kick is going to land, and the movie changes forever, like that was my favorite performance ever. The other thing is that there was a 3-year span. Tom Hanks won I love Tom Hanks, by the way. Tom Hanks is absolutely one of my favorite people in the whole world. Tom Hanks was nominated for Philadelphia. He won.
Can I say that I think that he didn't actually win for what I thought was his best performance in Road to Perdition?
And Road to Perdition, right? He was nominated for Philadelphia and won. He was nominated for Forrest Gump and he won. He was nominated the next year for Apollo 13 and didn't win. And he probably shouldn't have for Apollo 13. But that 3-year span of Hanks movies, like including what he's still done today, like is probably the best stretch for an actor that might ever exist. Like Denzel's done some stuff, but like, God damn, like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia is insane. And that was the directorial debut by Demi, right? Like that was his.
Well, no, but
No.
That was his follow-up. That was his follow-up to Silence of the Lambs.
That was his follow-up to Silence of the Lambs.
But that broke up a conversation that an entire like civilization had not had.
No.
Like one has to think about what that film really meant to.
Okay. All right.
Everything.
I'm going to cut in because in the TV on the side here that I keep looking at made me realize that we haven't even talked about maybe the single greatest supporting actor role of all time. It's on the TV right now. Reggie Jackson in The Naked Gun.
Oh,
correct. 100%.
I was going to
kill the queen.
Oh
my God. I was
must
going to
kill
go Warwick Davis and Willow.
I must kill the queen. That's cool. It was so good. It was so good. He kept his poise.
But yeah, that 3-year stretch from
Yes.
Tom Hanks is one of my favorite in movie history.
Yes.
One of my favorite blackjack partners, by the way. Across the street, Green Valley. Right?
Hey, you dropped that name right there. You might want to pick that up, buddy.
Oh, it's right next to my apple.
So for me, there's actually 2 film scenes that actually like I really love as a kid. One of them is very corny, and it's probably not from a great movie, but it's probably one of my favorite movies, which is the opening to Young Guns. I love the fact that they have all the actors stand and they have it in black and white, and just the score with it to me, I just love it. And then they all go rapid fire at the end of the scene. That like I love that part. Another one that really stood out to me just as a kid and as a person who was getting into movies was the opening scene of Last of the Mohicans with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh yeah.
The score.
Waterfall?
Yes. The chase. The waterfall scene's great, and also in the beginning when they're hunting the deer. That part, like just the score, the excitement of them rushing after it. And I'm a big history nut. So just seeing that and knowing it's about the French and Indian War, just like I was all in for it. And also,
the I will find you line is one of my top 5 lines in all of film forever.
And that movie to me doesn't get enough props as what it is because the book is horrible.
Yep.
James Fenimore Cooper's book is horrible, and that movie just blows it out of the water. I'm surprised Daniel Day-Lewis didn't get nominated for a role in that movie. But yeah, those are my two big things that I love in like past movies. So, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap it up here. Put a bow on this. I just want to say thank you to both Mr. Hand and Kfidds. We greatly appreciate you guys coming on. In all seriousness, this is probably one of the funniest pods we've done. We had a great time.
Until we get the live videos when you guys are all coming to Las Vegas, and we're like,
I don't think I've ever seen you this excited, Kfidds.
Yeah.
oh wow.
No, but seriously though, like as Justin said in the beginning, like we really appreciate you guys kind of taking us under your wing and showing us and letting us grow on the Tainted Glove Network. You guys are the best in terms of people, and I consider you guys really good friends. But let's give our closing remarks here. Let's go with Mr. Reverend Kfidds.
Well, I mean, if you like film, watch film. You know what? There's no substitute for experience. So just give it a look. If you don't like these films, watch them anyway.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Then you can finally watch the greatest movie of all time, which is Toxic Avenger
or Mystery Men
or Cable Guy.
Pete?
Film is very subjective, and I don't disparage anyone who may like a film I don't like or vice versa, because, film hits you it affects you where you are in your life, because there's films I associate with times in my life, and I always look at it that way. And so if you enjoy something, enjoy it. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I like this movie. A perfect example was Vos talking about Brokeback Mountain. Yes, a lot of people, guys especially, have a stigma about Brokeback Mountain. But you know what? Give it a chance and watch it. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll be like, wow, this is really powerful and good. Or maybe you might say, I think this absolutely blows. Whatever. Just give it a chance.
Also, Ang Lee directed it. U of
Yes,
I.
that's right.
And to close us out, Swole.
So I kind of have modeled my final thoughts after the Tainted Glove podcast and Mr. Hand. So I have a couple here that I want to share. One, I just want to reiterate everything that Yumper said about Kev and about Pete. We couldn't have done this pod without you two. I know you said that we've taken it and run with it, but you really are kind of like our mentors. And you've kind of empowered us to make this pod and do this stuff. It's really cool. The other thing that I want to say, the other two things I want to say is, one, if you're listening to this, it's okay to meet your internet friends, right?
Well, most of them.
Most of them. It's okay to meet your internet friends. Some of the greatest people I've met because I participated in White Sox Twitter, including everybody here in this room right now. So meet your friends. The other thing is that things are changing now, and masks are coming off, and the world is opening back up again. Get your ass to the theater and support the movie theaters. I don't mean just buy a ticket. I mean, those movie theaters, even those big box chains like AMC, make pennies from buying a movie ticket. Buy a popcorn, buy a large Coke, and support your theater so these things don't go away, and we have them for the next 40, 50 years and generations to come, because the movie theater is the greatest and most magical place that you could go to besides the ballpark. On that note, I think Yump wants to talk a little bit about what we got coming up on our next pod, and we're going to close it out for the night.
Yeah, so totally agree with those points, Will. Please support the movie theaters, and the movie theater is a great place to experience everything. We talked about it throughout this whole podcast, through all our podcasts, even on the Tainted Glove, the culture and experiences that movie theaters actually give us. So the next episode is going to be a fun one. We're actually going to go through cult classics and why we consider them cult classics. So me and Swole are going to give our top 10 lists. So we look forward to you guys listening. And as always, thank you so much for supporting. Check us out at the Tainted Glove on YouTube, where you'll see the posted video of us, and check us out at Yumper and Swole on Twitter and Instagram. And also check out Pete at Aloha Mr. Hand on Twitter, and the Reverend Kfidds at Kfidds on Twitter, and of course the Tainted Glove at Twitter. Until the next time, guys, have a good night. Take it easy. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast, a Tainted Glove production.
That's it. I'm getting out of here.